Throughout Dexter Resurrection, Leon Prater has established himself as the ultimate serial killer collector, a wealthy venture capitalist who hosts elaborate dinner parties for the world's most dangerous predators. His entire identity revolves around finding, controlling, and owning these monsters from a position of safety and superiority. But what if Prater discovered that Red, the elusive rideshare killer he's grown so fond of, is actually Dexter Morgan, the legendary Bay Harbor Butcher? In this video, we're going to explore whether Leon Prater would be in awe of landing such a notorious prize or terrified of the massive security risk, and examine how these vastly different reactions could dramatically reshape the plot of Dexter Resurrection. Let's begin. Reaction A would be positive. In Leon Prater's twisted world of serial killer dinner parties, discovering that Red is actually Dexter Morgan, the Bay Harbor Butcher, would be the ultimate vindication of his obsession. Rather than horror or betrayal, Prater would react with pure fascination and reverence. From episode 7, Prater already feels a strange connection to Dexter. During their private conversation, he opened up about his traumatic past with Cooper Morris, the drunk driver who killed his parents, in a way that he's never done with other killers. Dexter's vulnerability reminded Prater of Cooper's honesty, creating an emotional bond that goes beyond his usual relationships. When Prater said Dexter's openness made him feel comfortable enough to share his deepest trauma, it revealed genuine trust and admiration. If Prater did discover Dexter's true identity, this connection would transform into something approaching worship. Alright, maybe that is a bit too extreme. Nevertheless, remember, the Bay Harbor Butcher isn't just any serial killer. He's a legend who operated for years under the FBI's nose, worked within the system hunting him, and maintained perfect cover as a forensic analyst and family man. To Prater, whose entire adult life has been dedicated to collecting serial killers, Dexter would represent the Holy Grail. Orphaned by violence, Prater found solace through his correspondence with Cooper Morris. That relationship taught him that connecting with killers gave him power and understanding that normal relationships couldn't provide. When Cooper died, Prater built his entire fortune around recreating that connection with multiple killers, but none would compare to having the Bay Harbor Butcher himself. Prater's reaction would mirror his response to Cooper's brutal honesty, a mixture of fear and exhilaration. His trophy room already contains artifacts from history's greatest killers, but having the living Bay Harbor Butcher would outweigh everything else. More importantly, Prater would see Dexter as the solution to his current crisis. With Lowell dead, Mia suicided, and the group falling apart, the discovery of the Bay Harbor Butcher would make it all worth it. So, let's say Prater's reaction was positive. What are the possible plot points that the writer can develop with? Prater's excitement might first show up as a request. He'd want to watch Dexter kill the remaining members of his network. Prater might approach this like a movie producer working on his dream project. He could set up detailed plans, give Dexter complete files on each remaining killer, their habits, their weaknesses, etc. Picture Prater's excitement as he arranges for Al to be eliminated during a family bike ride through Central Park. For Prater, watching the Bay Harbor Butcher work would be like watching a master artist create his masterpiece, except the canvas would be death itself. If you like that bit of poetry, make sure to subscribe. Now, he wouldn't just want to hear about the murders afterward. He'd want front row seats to watch a master at work. His wealth could provide perfect kill rooms, cameras to record everything, and cleanup crews to handle the mess. Prater would become Dexter's producer, director, and biggest fan all at once. But I find this kind of unlikely because it's never been in Dexter's nature to expose his methods completely. We see this with his brother, his sister, Miguel, and every other friend he's had. But why stop with his own network? Prater's amazement could grow into asking Dexter to go after the ultimate target, the New York Ripper. This legendary killer, mentioned in Detective Wallace's presentations and part of Prater's trophy collection, is one of the few serial killers who did what Dexter did, stay completely invisible while terrorizing a major city. The Ripper was never caught, never identified, making him the perfect challenge for the Bay Harbor Butcher. Prater would be incredibly excited about this. He'd see it as the ultimate test. Can the Bay Harbor Butcher succeed where the NYPD, FBI, and countless investigators failed? The planning alone would thrill him. He could use his law enforcement connections to give Dexter case files, crime scene photos, and inside information that's never been made public. Now, the final storyline I thought of if he found out and was happy was Dexter taking on a Charlie-like role, although I find this highly unlikely. Prater's fanboy obsession could lead to a job offer, hiring Dexter as his personal serial killer consultant. With his wealth and connections, Prater could provide kill rooms, corrupt officials, and resources for nationwide hunting. This scenario is very far-fetched and almost impossible, but it could become an option if Angel Batista closes in on Dexter and Harrison. Prater's protection and resources might be their only escape from law enforcement, though it would turn Dexter from an independent operator into Prater's prized possession, something which we know he would not like. Now that we've covered Prater's positive response, let's cover his potential negative response and all the potential storylines that could come about as a result of that. But as I'm sure you all know by now, before we get on to that, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying the content. So, the negative reaction. While many would think that Leon Prater would be thrilled to discover that Red is actually the Bay Harbor Butcher, a deeper look at his psychology suggests the complete opposite reaction. Prater's entire identity is built around being the master collector, the puppet master who controls dangerous people from a position of safety and power. Learning that Dexter Morgan, the most successful serial killer in modern history, has been sitting at his table, studying him, and possibly manipulating him would destroy everything that Prater believes about himself. Prater's biggest need is control. His traumatic childhood, losing his parents to Cooper Morris's drunk driving, left him powerless and hurt. His entire adult life has been about reversing that situation, collecting serial killers like trophies, getting their secrets, and staying in complete control of dangerous people from behind layers of wealth, security, and legal protection. He's always been the spider at the center of his web, safely watching and controlling the monsters he's gathered. Figuring out Dexter's true identity would completely destroy this fantasy. Suddenly, Prater would realize he hasn't been collecting the Bay Harbor Butcher. The Bay Harbor Butcher has been collecting him, if that makes sense. The psychological impact would be crushing. Prater would have to face the possibility that he's been the one being manipulated all along. Did Dexter plan their entire relationship? Was Prater's emotional connection to Red real? Or was he being expertly played by someone who has fooled law enforcement, the FBI, and his own colleagues for decades? Prater's ego is completely tied to his reputation as the ultimate serial killer expert. He's proud of his ability to find, locate, and recruit the most hard-to-find killers. His dinner parties prove his superiority, evidence he can succeed where law enforcement fails. He found Mia when the authorities couldn't. He located Gareth despite the killer's legendary skill at hiding. He built a network that includes killers from the FBI's most wanted list. But Dexter represents the ultimate failure at Prater's methods. The Bay Harbor Butcher was never truly found by Prater. Instead, Dexter chose to reveal himself when it suited his purposes. This would suggest that Prater's famous investigative abilities are worthless against truly smart killers. Worse, it would mean that any killer clever enough to avoid capture for decades could easily infiltrate and manipulate Prater's entire operation. Now, I may be exaggerating, but you get my point. So again, if Prater's reaction was negative, he felt humiliated, embarrassed, and betrayed. What would this mean for the storyline? Firstly, Prater's reaction would likely show up as extreme paranoia about his security and safety. If Dexter could infiltrate his network so completely, what else might he know? Has Dexter figured out all of Prater's safe houses, his security systems, his escape routes? The man who spent a decade killing other serial killers without leaving evidence would certainly be able to eliminate Prater if he wanted to. This paranoia was spread to his entire operation. How many other members of his network might be fake identities? Could Al Jolly actually be another legendary killer operating under deep cover? Prater's trust in his ability to verify identities and control his environment would be shattered, leading to obsessive security reviews and constant doubt about everyone around him. Prater's horror would also come from recognizing his extreme legal danger. He's been providing money, resources, and protection to serial killers, but Dexter is different. The Bay Harbor Butcher case was one of the largest FBI investigations in history. If Dexter's identity is ever revealed, every aspect of Prater's operation would come under federal investigation. Unlike his other killers, who are fairly irrelevant, Dexter represents a connection to massive federal cases, dead FBI agents, murdered police officers, and decades of unsolved murders. Prater's careful cultivation of law enforcement contacts would mean nothing against the kind of federal task force that would form around the Bay Harbor Butcher's capture. Finally, something which I could see happening is Leon Prater could turn against Dexter due to both the massive security risk he represents and his fundamental deception of the group. As a venture capitalist obsessed with control and curating his exclusive serial killer network, Prater would be horrified to discover that Red is actually the infamous Bay Harbor Butcher, a killer so high profile that his mere presence jeopardizes everything Prater has built. The Bay Harbor Butcher notoriety attracts exactly the kind of federal attention that could expose Prater's trophy vault, his connection to dozens of active serial killers, and his entire operation. More personally, Prater would feel betrayed by Dexter's elaborate deception. Having built this identity around collecting killers and extracting their darkest secrets, discovering that his newest acquisition had been lying about his identity would wound Prater's ego and sense of control. Combined with Angel Batista's relentless pursuit and the NYPD's growing investigation, Prater might decide that Dexter represents an existential threat that must be eliminated. Rather than risk exposure by turning Dexter over to authorities, Prater would likely order Charlie to quietly eliminate him, just as she did with Mia and Keith. This would protect both his organization and his carefully cultivated public persona while sending a clear message to his remaining killers about the consequences of deception or selling him out to the NYPD and Batista. At the end of it, all I can say is, I don't know. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe, and I'm looking forward to reading what you guys think would happen if Leon Prater discovers Dexter is the Bay Harbor Butcher.